So for those of you who are waiting to see a YNW Melly retrial, you might have to wait a little longer, fam. They really look like they're about to stretch this man to about 8 years behind bars before whatever happens, happens. Honestly, at this point, I'm thinking constitutional violations. I'm thinking he might even blow this case, like he might walk from it. One person said, man, we are disappointed about today's hearing. You know what I mean? This is crazy. Another person says, this is what unconstitutionality looks like. Another person said, have the same rap name as your friends and still killed them over petty bullshit. YNW Melly, you a real one. Another person says, isn't this somehow illegal that someone could stay this long in custody without being proven guilty? And another person says, this is actually crazy. They're going to stretch him till about 2029. And then they're going to drop all the charges after they get about a good 10 piece out of him. 10 piece, 10 years behind bars. Another person says, he ain't got his demon smirk on his face no more, huh? And another person says, this is just getting worse and worse. They just need to just go ahead and settle this already. He's been in jail for way too long at this point. Another person says, man, he's been in jail for years and still no answer. The system is failing. Another person says, listen, they just trying to dry up all the money, all the resources he got because they about to fry him. Why send him to prison for life but leave a bank account full? Makes sense. So, in the latest of what's been happening with YNW Melly, I hops over to hot new hip hop, also the Miami Herald. In this double murder retrial, we continue to see delays after delays after delays. According to NBC6 News, it's now been pushed back, all the way back, I would say all the way forward, to 2027. Melly was supposed to start his retrial pretty soon. So the rapper has been behind bars since 2019, fam. When he was arrested, he was hit with murder charges, right? Authorities believe that he was allegedly responsible for the fatal shooting of his two friends, YNW Juvie, YNW Sack Chaser, which were also basically his bandmates, because it's the YNW collective. Everybody in the group name starts with YNW. You know how that goes. Well, that murder, or though that double murder, took place in 2018. After doing some investigation and whatnot, they found that YNW Melly looks to be the killer. So he turned himself in after hearing that they wanted him, and he never walked out after turning himself in voluntarily. His first trial began in June of 2023. But after a few weeks on trial, a mistrial was declared because the jury failed to reach a unanimous decision. You had one juror that was holding out the whole way. That juror kept going back to the courtroom during deliberation saying, I want to see evidence 1, 2, and 3 again. I want to see the next part again. I want you to explain this to me again. And then after doing all that, the juror finally said, I don't give a damn what y'all tell me. I don't care what the evidence says. I'm voting not guilty. Whole lot of stuff happened after that. That one juror held out, refusing to look at any of the evidence, and just decided, I like Melly, he not guilty. That threw the whole case in a tailspin. It was actually decided 11-1. 11 people thought he was guilty on that jury. One person saved his ass. And that one person ended up bringing another person over to their side at the very last minute before the judge declared a mistrial, and then the state decided to try him all over again. So it wasn't like it was in his favor. It was 11-1. 11 of them thought he was guilty. One saved his ass, right? They rescheduled that multiple times since then. And then eventually a September 2025 start date was announced just last month. So September is just around the corner. Today is August 9th of 2025. So we were less than a month away from his new trial starting again, where he would be put through a trial for the second time for these double murders. Let me tell you something, right? Honestly, as much as I want to say free Melly, I sat and I watched that first trial intensely. Intensely. I studied that trial like, you know how when you go to school and they're telling you you have a book report that you got to do and you have an exam that's coming up on this part of the book, chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10. I studied chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's how I studied this trial. And everything in this trial points to Melly being the killer. Everything. And as much as I'm thinking about Melly's mama and that she might lose her son forever because they're going to hit him with life in prison without the possibility of parole at best, because the death penalty is the next choice they have for him. See, I still got to think about YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser and their parents and their family members who missed them and the way that they died as well. I would encourage anybody to go watch that entire trial. The place where YNW Bortland told the police that this is where the shootout took place and a car drove up and started shooting at us on the highway. See, young, dumb, and don't know shit. That area was under surveillance on the highway. I don't know if y'all know it, but a lot of these highways have cameras on them that film 24/7. So they took the forensic team back to that area where he claimed a shooting happened. And if you watch in that trial, we sat and watched and watched and watched and watched. And we didn't see not one damn thing happening on that stretch of highway. Not only did nothing happen in front of the cameras that were there, but also no spent shells were found. And also, the bullet trajectory does not match a car getting hit while it was moving. You got to use your intelligence, right? If a car is being shot at multiple times while the car was moving, the bullets will go into that car at an angle. The way how they staged it, they can tell that whoever shot up the car to make it look like a drive-by shot straight into the car, not from an angle. So there were a lot of things, like also the person who staged it also had the doors open of the car while they were shooting into the car. The doors were open because they shot into the door jambs of the car. You can't shoot into a door jamb of a car unless the door open. And I know if your car is getting attacked on a highway, you know, somebody's sliding on you and they're shooting from another car, you're not going to open your doors to catch bullets into the door jambs. So there are so many pieces of evidence that points to this being staged and YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie being murdered. YNW Bortland was driving and YNW Melly was the trigger man. Now, speaking of YNW Bortland, haven't heard from him or seen in a while. YNW Bortland, I don't know if he was scared, because could you imagine you driving your car, right? And you and the homies in the car. The car is full. It's 4 of us in here. It's a little SUV with one person driving, one person in the front seat, passenger side, one person in the back, and one person behind the driver. Could you imagine the person behind the driver suddenly executes the person in the front seat first? According to forensic, it said that that was the first person that got killed. The other person seemed like he was sleeping when that happened. He was dozing off or sleeping. Then he turns the gun on that person who is at the sitting behind the person in the passenger seat and executes him too. You're the only person alive left in this car. You're driving. The person who just did the killings are sitting right behind you. What are you going to do? So, of course, there has to have been some level of fear. Or did YNW Bortland and YNW Melly actually plan this already? I'm saying all that assuming YNW Bortland was caught off guard and then was made to go along out of fear. But what if they actually planned this shit already? Now, news of YNW Melly's latest trial delay comes after he attempted a pre-trial hearing in July, and Judge Martin S. Feen ordered that the courts should turn over documents that are related to his defense attorney, Raven Liberty. Raven Liberty, YNW Melly's attorney, the female lawyer, she's been under investigation for the longest, right? The police department keeps saying it's a secret investigation, and the rest of YNW Melly's attorneys are saying, we want to know what she's under investigation for. They're like, we can't tell you right now. It's a secret investigation. So they took it to the judge. The judge finally said, listen, secret or no secret investigation, you need to turn over the paperwork so his attorneys, the rest of his attorneys, know what it is she is being investigated for. I mean, if she is being investigated for something where she eventually gets found guilty, then naturally she's going to have to be taken off of his defense team. We don't want to invest time in going to trial, and then in the middle of trial, you find something on her in your secret investigation, and then we have to reshuffle our whole defense team. Reportedly, Raven Liberty was at the center of a 18 months investigation for suspected witness tampering. At the time of writing this, she has not been charged with anything as yet. So she was accused of being down to do whatever it takes to help win this case. Now, this latest update also comes after YNW Melly requested pretrial release. He wanted to be up out of there on bail. They wouldn't allow him bail, so he sued the Broward County Sheriff's Office last November. Now, in that lawsuit that was filed by one of his attorneys, they alleged that he was being kept in inhumane conditions. They said that his cell had no door on it, or he was locked in and he couldn't go mix with any other people. He was in solitary confinement. Basically, he has a guard that's on him specifically 24/7, and he is not allowed to speak to YNW Melly. The guards aren't. So he is in total isolation, and he's not allowed any visitors, and he's not allowed any mail communication. Like, you get your mail, you read your mail. He's not allowed any kind of communication, no phone calls being made, nothing to the outside world. So it's inhumane, and it could cause somebody to go crazy. And they put that before the judge, and the judge said, okay, well, the sheriff department's got to have to come up with and give him a good reason why they have him living like that. So said, so done. They showed the judge all their evidence. The judge ended up siding with them. The Broward Sheriff's Office does not generally comment on pending litigations. The Broward County Sheriff's Office responded. He said, however, the jail does not utilize solitary confinement. We don't have that here. Rather, Mr. Demings has been placed on what we call administrative segregation, which is a classification resulting in an alternative living assignment for an inmate whose placement in the general population poses a serious threat to the safety of staff, to the safety of inmates, to the safety of himself, or life and property. In other words, we don't want him mixing with anybody else because he could cause some serious trouble around here. And he has been causing some serious trouble around here, so we have had to segregate him. So, as of now, what it looks like is that his trial will not be starting September like we thought it was. His trial looks like it just got pushed to 2027, which will make it 8 years that he has been behind bars without a decision of guilty or innocent. He is presumed guilty because he had a trial already and all the evidence that was presented in the trial already. The judge who was supposed to let him out on bail, the judge looked over all the evidence, and the judge said, this is the reason why I'm not letting you out on bail so you could fight this case, even though you've been locked up for quite some time, because all the evidence I've seen points to a strong motion of guilt. This is a double murder. On a double capital murder, on capital murder, period, there usually is no bail. So he would be getting released under special conditions anyways. Now to have a double murder, no bail, no bail, plus strong evidence that was already presented in a court of law and the judge can look through it, no bail. So he looks like he might have to stay right where he's at in jail for 8 years or so before his trial actually begins. I don't know. I think this is going to end up costing in the long run. You know, YNW Melly might beat this eventually, but I will say this. There's some strong evidence against him, and I don't see how he's going to beat this. His trial ended when his defense team only called one witness, and that one witness was someone who was with them that night of the shooting, but riding in a different car. And that person took the stand and said YNW Melly was not even in the car where Juve and Sack Chaser got shot and killed. Yes, you saw him get in the car with them in front of the cameras when we were leaving the recording studio, but down the street where it's dark and there are no cameras, he had told them to pull over so he could go pee. And when he went off the side of the road and peed in the bushes, he decided he wasn't going to stay in that car with them. He was going to jump in our car to go back to the house. So he wasn't even in that car. That was the alibi that was created for him. The funny thing is, though, Trayvon Glass was there. And Trayvon Glass already said he was not in our vehicle. He stayed in the same vehicle that y'all saw him get in on camera in front of that studio when we left. We never stopped. We drove off from that studio, we never stopped. The only time we stopped was when we hit the guard shack at the gate where we got a pass verification to get in. They have cameras that show inside of the car. The cameras show Trayvon Glass, eyes wide open, in that car. Because the defense tried to say that Trayvon Glass was asleep. Trayvon Glass himself said he was asleep. He said he was high, he was drinking, he was smoking a little bit, he was high, it's a studio session, so he fell asleep on the ride to the house. However, when he got to the guard shack, he woke up. Guess what the video camera shows at the guard shack? It shows Trayvon Glass with his eyes wide open in the car. So his story checks out. And it also shows no YNW Melly was in that car. So yeah, YNW Melly looks like he could beat this on technicality if he does, but I don't think he's going to. I think they're stretching it, draining his resources, stretching it, because eventually he will be going down. And I also think, you see, he's pretty young. So I don't know if they want to give him the death penalty, but he might get the death penalty. If he doesn't, it'll be life without parole. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. Why do you think they keep changing his date? And do you think it's okay to be in jail for 8 years before a trial, or before you're found guilty or innocent, rather, because he had a trial already. So it's 8 years before you're found guilty or innocent. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you on the next video. It's BrainFLoTv. Hit that subscribe button. I'm out. Peace.